You ever feel like you're facing down like an impossible challenge?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
It's a pretty universal feeling, right?
Yeah.
So today, we're going to jump into a universe that knows a thing or two about impossible odds. Star Wars.
Okay.
We're looking at how those epic stories of resistance, of everyday people going up against overwhelming power,
Hmm.
you know, how those stories might give us a new way to think about the struggles we face in our own lives.
I like it.
Because life, let's face it, it can feel pretty overwhelming sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
So we're going to take kind of a, I don't know, a soft, light look at these fictional narratives,
Okay.
see what they might be able to teach us about facing our own dark sides, and maybe even have a little fun along the way.
Sounds good to me.
So no hard and fast rules here.
Right.
We're not trying to like push any agenda or anything.
I'm out.
It's all about exploring the ideas,
Yeah.
the ideas that are kind of baked into these stories of resistance, creativity, the strength we find in community, and how hope can hang on even when things feel really, really dark.
Yeah.
We'll be drawing on some stuff you sent our way, using the Star Wars narrative as a lens, kind of a framework for some, free and open thinking
I love that. Free and open.
about how we can navigate tough times.
Right.
So Star Wars, obviously rebellion's at its heart, right?
For sure.
But it doesn't like kick off with these huge, massive battles.
Right.
It starts small, often with just one person saying, no, this isn't right. Like, think about Luke Skywalker,
Yeah.
just yearning for something more than farm life, or Leia, like, instantly defying the Empire. It's like,
Yeah.
even the smallest act of resistance can make a difference.
Yeah.
And that's something that really stuck with me from the things you sent over.
Okay.
How these, quote-unquote, small creative acts can be so powerful.
Yes.
They can cut through that feeling of burnout,
Oh, yeah.
and actually validate the struggles we're going through,
Absolutely.
like ripples in a pond.
I think it's fascinating to think about the psychology behind that, because taking even a small action when you're up against something huge can give you a sense of agency.
Yeah.
You're not just passively taking it anymore. You're actually pushing back, engaging with it.
You're not just letting the world happen to you.
Exactly. And that sense of control, however small, can be huge.
It is huge.
It's key to building resilience, to fighting off that feeling of helplessness, which, your sources touch on that in a lot of different ways.
And those small acts, they almost always bring people together, right?
It's true.
I mean, the Star Wars rebels, they totally rely on each other. They need that network for support, for sharing resources, and I think most importantly, for that shared purpose.
That shared belief.
Yeah, that shared belief in what they're fighting for. And that idea of community, of finding strength and hope in each other, it's a big theme in the sources you sent, too.
It is. It's a fundamental human need.
Oh, totally.
When we're feeling overwhelmed, knowing we're not alone, that others are going through the same stuff, that they have the same goals, that makes all the difference. It's a powerful weapon against despair.
It's like the Star Wars characters, they're not just soldiers, right? They're
Right.
like lifelines for each other. You really feel that connection.
And if we think about resilience as a concept, bigger than Star Wars, it's not just a storytelling device, it's real life. We need that community support. It allows us to pool resources, practical and emotional, and it just amplifies the collective will to keep going.
It's impossible to ignore the really deep emotions driving this resistance, though.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it's a direct response to the Empire's oppression.
Yes.
It's a yearning for freedom. And it's about the very real pain of loss.
It's true.
Think about the destruction of Alderaan.
Yeah.
That's such a powerful example of how pain fuels the fire of rebellion.
It pushes them forward.
Exactly. And, we're exploring this idea that pain feels big. And the Star Wars characters, they definitely carry that weight. But they don't just give in to it.
No, they find a way to channel it.
They find a way to keep fighting.
And how do they manage to keep going despite the pain?
Well, it's interesting to note that even in these really dark moments, there's humor.
Oh, yeah.
Think about Han Solo's wisecracks when things are getting dicey, or the banter between the characters.
It's not always there, but it pops up, right?
Exactly, it pops up. And this connects to our idea that struggle can be beatable with humor and insight.
Humor and insight.
It's a way to like puncture the tension.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is serious, but it's not the end of the world. It makes it feel more manageable.
It's like a pressure valve. If it's all doom and gloom all the time, that's when it gets really crushing.
Exactly.
Those little bits of lightness, they're an escape.
Right.
A reminder of the good stuff, the humanity that they're fighting to protect.
And even with all the hardship, You see these characters finding these small, simple joys.
Oh, absolutely. A moment of connection, a small victory, a shared laugh.
Which brings us back to our idea of simple joys offering hope, right?
Yes.
It's not about pretending things aren't hard,
Mhm.
but about actively seeking out and appreciating those glimmers of light.
And it's interesting how these fictional elements we see in Star Wars kind of echo some of the ideas in the sources you gave us.
Oh, how so?
For instance, when we see the rebels up against the impossible might of the Empire, it reminds me of that thought of lack and loss that comes up in Prosperity Consciousness.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
The Empire, right, in its total dominance, you could say, it represents that overwhelming sense of lack.
Lack of what?
Lack of freedom, the potential to lose everything they value. Everything.
So the rebels, even when they're facing this, like, total domination, they don't just give in to that feeling of lack of potential loss.
No, they don't. They actively build an image of a free galaxy, a just society. They act as if it's possible, even when everything around them is screaming that it's not.
It's like they're choosing to focus on what they want, even when their reality is
No.
completely different.
Exactly. And that's what prosperity consciousness is all about, holding that vision of what you want to achieve, even when it seems impossible. The rebels are basically doing that, but on a massive collective scale. They're holding on to that image, and it's fueling everything they do, their actions, their determination, especially in the face of setback after setback.
And that vision, it has to be communicated, it has to be championed, right? Which brings us to leadership.
Yes.
The leaders in the Rebel Alliance.
Okay.
Think about Mon Mothma, or even Leia.
Yeah.
They articulate this vision, what they're fighting for, and they do it in a way that makes others want to join them, even when the risks are huge.
Terrifyingly high.
Right. This really ties into the leadership stuff we're looking at.
It does. Vision and courage. Those are the key takeaways.
Vision, courage to stand up for what you believe in.
Those leadership sources, they really highlight courage in the face of uncertainty. True leaders, they don't wait for everything to be perfect.
Right.
They move forward decisively because that's how they get things done. The rebel leaders, they're always facing impossible odds.
Always.
But they have the courage to act on their convictions, to protect the people they lead, and to make really, really tough choices.
They don't shy away from the hard decisions.
No.
It also strikes me that the rebels, they're not just fighting a war. They're fundamentally challenging the status quo, the reality that the Empire's imposed on everyone.
That's a great point.
They reject the Empire's authority. They refuse to accept its legitimacy. And that reminds me of this idea from living beyond your life today, this idea of, living your life outside the box.
Yeah.
The rebels, they're not just passively accepting the way things are, they're actively trying to create something new, a whole different reality.
And the Empire is a very rigid, oppressive box, right?
Oh, yeah?
Dictating how people should live, what they should believe. But the rebels, by their very actions and beliefs, they're choosing to live outside that box. They're questioning the dominant narrative, refusing to be limited by the power structures that the Empire's put in place. It's defiance.
Yeah.
At the core of their resistance.
And within this resistance, we see individual characters going through these amazing transformations.
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker.
Of course.
From ordinary farm boy to, like, this pivotal figure.
Right.
Leia Organa, growing as a leader, a symbol of hope.
It's incredible.
This idea of personal growth in the face of adversity. It feels really relevant to all of us, I think.
It's about challenges forcing us to grow, to evolve.
Yeah.
The experiences, the moral dilemmas these characters face, they push them to confront their limits, to find hidden strengths. They come out the other side changed.
They do.
It's a powerful reminder that tough times, they can be the catalyst for real, significant change and self-discovery.
And while it feels like the fight against the Empire in those original movies, the original trilogy, it feels like it's this never-ending struggle.
Yeah.
We, the audience, we know that the Empire does eventually fall.
Right.
There's this sense of the temporary nature of hardship woven into those stories.
It's built in.
Yeah. And that really aligns with what we're trying to explore here. The idea that hardship as temporary with critical thinking.
Right.
The rebels, they go through so much, sacrifices, setbacks, the whole thing.
But ultimately.
But they bring down that oppressive regime.
And that's a crucial takeaway. The Star Wars saga, it's full of drama, it's brutal at times, but ultimately it offers a message of hope,
Oh, yeah.
Change is possible. Even the most powerful forces can be overcome. It doesn't say it's easy
Right.
or that it won't cost you something.
It doesn't sugarcoat it.
No. But it does show that even deeply entrenched hardship, it can be temporary.
And it all comes down to belief, doesn't it?
I think so.
The rebels have to believe that a better future is possible, that their struggle isn't pointless. That belief fuels their actions, even when the odds are totally stacked against them. It's like that visualization idea from prosperity consciousness,
Exactly.
holding on to that image of a free galaxy.
Yeah.
And that belief gives them the power to act.
It's a powerful motivator. It gives you the resilience to keep going through setbacks, to keep fighting even when hope seems lost. That conviction, that clear vision of what could be, it's essential to any successful resistance movement.
Whether it's in a galaxy far, far away.
Or right here, right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that resistance, even in Star Wars, it's not always simple or easy.
Oh, for sure.
There are disagreements within the Rebel Alliance.
Of course.
Characters make mistakes.
Absolutely.
They face defeats, setbacks.
Yeah.
It's messy.
That's an important point, because the Star Wars narrative, even though it ends with hope and resolution, it doesn't shy away from the messy realities of resistance. These characters, they have doubts. They disagree on strategy, and they have to face the consequences of their choices.
Yeah,
That makes it more relatable, right?
totally.
Because it shows that struggle against power is never neat and tidy.
And while we've been focusing mainly on the rebellion against the Empire,
Right.
the main conflict,
A big one.
the Star Wars universe is massive.
Huge.
There are all sorts of groups with different ideas about how to deal with oppression,
Different approaches.
even if those weren't the focus of what we looked at today.
It's a good reminder that resistance isn't one size fits all.
Oh, exactly.
There's a whole range of strategies, different beliefs,
Right.
all under this umbrella of fighting for change.
It reflects the variety of experiences and perspectives of the people who are trying to build a better future.
Exactly.
So, as we start to wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
it's pretty clear that stories of resistance, especially those in Star Wars, they can give us some valuable food for thought.
Tools we can use,
Yeah.
no matter what challenges we face in our own lives, no matter how big or small.
The themes we've been talking about.
Right.
The power of starting small. The strength we find in each other. Holding on to a vision.
And hope. Never forgetting hope.
Those aren't just things that happen in a galaxy far, far away.
No.
They're part of the human experience.
Absolutely. It's about how we face adversity.
And hopefully, some of what we've talked about today can give you, the listener, a bit of inspiration.
A little boost.
Yeah, a boost.
A renewed sense of strength for your own journey.
I like that.
And to leave you with one final thought. Maybe the very act of engaging with these stories, these narratives of resistance, is itself a small act of creativity. By thinking about these stories, by wrestling with the ideas they present, maybe we're actually building up our own resilience.
Makes sense.
Maybe we're getting better at facing our own challenges.
With a greater sense of possibility.
Exactly. So think about how these themes resonate with you, with your own experiences, your own point of view.
That brings us to the end of this deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for exploring these ideas with us.
Until next time.